March Madness is upon us, and couple that with the NBA season is going on, actually going to the playoffs. A better way to bet on those games and games in other sports like the Premier League and everything else, or even Major League Soccer, than betus.com, where you can get 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500 by using the promo code TKT for the Klown times. So what are these other perks here? You can bet on the go. You can bet anytime, anywhere on your mobile device. You get fast pass, or you get paid immediately every single time. And last but not least, you can you could do live betting where you can bet during the game, getting the early and the best lines. Again, use my promo code TKT for the Klown times to get up to 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500. So again, not to sound like a book record, but go to betus.com where the game begins. We're going to shift from the college basketball to the NBA, where it's fantastic. It's hard to believe it's like 3 to 4 games left in the season now, depending on which teams play how many games, right? It's unreal. It's crazy that we're almost at the end of the season, dude. But there's one team that concerns me heading to the playoffs, heading down the stretch. It's the Philadelphia 76ers. Why, you may ask? I mean, they have Joel Embiid, who's the MVP candidate, right? They got, good young players, and they have James Harden. But the concern I have is James Harden. I mean, I was like one of the few people concerned about the chemistry when they traded for James Harden way back when, right? When they shipped Ben Simmons' ass out of town. and a couple of tomato cans. Well, not tomato cans, but Steph Curry and Andre Drummond, 2 solid players, and a couple of tomato cans. But everyone and mama swore up and down that Philly won the trade hands down, right? And, because they got James Harden, Joel Embiid on pick and roll. How you going to stop that? What? Right? But if you look at the last few games, right, they've lost 3 of 5. Sure, they won 2 in a row. They beat the Hornets, and they won in Cleveland. But damn, I mean, it's like the way James Harden's been playing. I mean, Philly was a more free-flowing team. They got what? They got good young players, Tyrese Maxey, right? The point guard averages 17 points a game and whatnot. But, George Niang is playing pretty good. Tobias Harris is Tobias Harris, right? But the fact of the matter is that James Harden, if you're paying attention, for those you pay attention the last few years, he's a ball stopper. He dribbles the ball up, pats the ball for 22 out of 24 seconds on the shot clock. Then he dishes it off, either he shoots it or dishes off to take a quick shot, whoever stand on the wings with little time to get the shot. So basically, the Sixers going from free flowing to pick and roll, James Harden with Joel Embiid, I suppose, and Maxey, a few other guys stand in the corner and wait for it to shoot the 3. That's not Philly's game. That's not Doc Rivers' style of offense.
No.
And so the thing is that I'm afraid that Harden is going to try. I mean, he's done it before. Try to bring his coach in, what's his name, Mike D'Antoni. Mm-hmm. And because he already has this guy in the front office, and Daryl Morey, so he's trying to make this Houston North, which would not work for Embiid all that much.
Oh my, and most definitely won't work for Joel.
No, because Joel Embiid is a lot better than he's in Atlanta right now, but he used to be the center when James Harden was in Houston. I'll think of his name in a second. But the point is that Joel Embiid went from a surefire MVP front runner to like back in the pack, if you will, because you got the Joker, right, and Denver doing this thing. You have, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak. Like I try to pronounce his last name. I just call him the Greek Freak because I don't want to mess my floor up. So you got the Greek Freak playing well, leading his team down the stretch. You have my man in Chicago, played in Toronto all those years, played in last year.
God, I see his face. DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan playing well. And you have this young man in Phoenix, Devin Booker.
Who a lot of people are ignoring.
Yes, for some reason, because he has his team. His team is the best team in the league.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the best team.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting as much love as I think he should be getting. So all that to say is I'm worried about Philly because let's face it, they have only a 2-year window at best. Because if you look at the damn rest of the East, which is crazy deep, man. I've never seen the East this deep in several years. The top four teams are separated by 2.5 games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Miami's on top for now, followed by Boston, who came out of nowhere. Boston's as hot as fish grease.
Yeah.
They've come from barely in the play-in area to second best in the Eastern Conference. They've won 8 on the last set. They've been on a tear in the second half of the season. Followed by Milwaukee and Philly, tied for third or fourth place. Then you have Chicago, and even Toronto's playing better. So it's like you have all these teams, and now counting Brooklyn for next season when they have a healthier Ben Simmons, a healthier Kevin Durant. Who knows what's going to go on with Kyrie Irving, but at least he's able to play home games now. So all the and Atlanta's going to be better. Cleveland's going to be better. Charlotte's going to be better. So that's your Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
It's hella deep.
Very deep.
It's hella deep. So now, if you're Philly, you only got 2 years to make it happen, man. Because otherwise, because Miami's not going anywhere. I forgot about Miami. Miami's on 1-4 in a row. They're the best team in the East. I told people before the season to look out for Miami. What do you know, my boy? Your boy was right. Pat myself on the back there. But anyway, the point is that I think James Harden has his contract is up after this year, right?
I think so.
So that throws another wrinkle. So what's going to happen with that? So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen in Philly in this playoffs this year's plus because it's not a cakewalk. If the way things stand right now, they play Chicago in the first round. They'll probably beat Chicago in the first round, but they probably end up playing Miami in the second round.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah.
So as of right now, based upon what's going on with the Sixers and where they may or may not be placed, the matchups that they currently could face in the first round, like you said, Chicago is if they're coming in at the 4 seed, and that's my Philly. Philly is well before tonight's games, we're tied for third or somewhere between third and fourth, right?
Yes.
So if they finish third or fourth, they can face the likes of the Chicago Bulls, who they swept this season, the Toronto Raptors, who they're actually 1-2 against this year with the fourth game coming up sometime next week. Yes. And their 2 losses against the Raptors are at home. And then, of course, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they've swept, and then the Atlanta Hawks, who they've beaten 2 out of 3 times. Right. So their first round opponent, unless it's Toronto, they should be able to handle. But to your point, that next round, depending upon where they come in, especially if they come in at the 4 seed and Miami comes in at the 1, they will have to face the Heat in the second round. In the way that we already know that Spoelstra is going to have that team playing defense, it's going to be problematic for the 76ers in that round, especially with the way that James Harden has been playing since coming to Philly. And to your point, we've kind of seen this before, right? Where a marquee player or several marquee players come to a young team and with the hopes of turning that team around, only to break up a young nucleus, and those young pieces end up going elsewhere, then end up playing well. We've seen that happen with the Lakers. We've seen that happen with the Nets. And
Cleveland still says thank you to Brooklyn to this day.
Exactly,
like, thank you,
right?
God. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus, for that trade.
Yes. And now you have the 76ers who could be going through the exact same thing. Yeah. And for those who don't believe me, let me go ahead and talk you through some of these stats with James Harden since coming over to the Lakers. I'm sorry, not the Lakers, but to the Sixers. Okay, so yes, the Sixers are 11-6 since the James Harden trade. They're 8-6 against playoff teams and 3-1 against non-playoff teams, with their key wins being against Miami. So they got one win during that time frame against the Heat. Mm-hmm. They beat the Dallas Mavericks during that time, and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 3 times, which is why I say if they play against the Cavs in the first round, they should potentially handle them.
Right.
But in their final 4 games, they got 2 games against the Indiana Pacers. They got another game against Toronto, and then they got their final game against the Detroit Pistons. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, like I said before, where they're going to finish. I'm just a little concerned about what happens to them in the second round because of Harden's play. Harden, since coming to Philly, has made less than 6 shots, so 5.6 shots per game, and is currently putting up 13.8 attempts per game and averaging 22 points per game, which is the lowest for James Harden since 2011, 2012, which was his 3rd year when he was playing in OKC. He's also shooting 40.7% from the field, which is his lowest shooting percentage ever. Also is shooting 2.33. Well, he's actually made 2.3 3-point buckets, which is his lowest 3-point make since 2012, 2013. And he's putting up 6.7 3-point attempts, which is his lowest output since 2013, 2014, his 4th year. Actually, his 4th year in the league, his 1st year in Houston. So his output has most definitely lessened since coming to the 76ers, something that I think a lot of people didn't necessarily expect. They was hoping that he would come in with his output and match it along with Embiid's output to make them a better team.
Right.
But we don't see it yet.
Right.
And I don't know if we're going to see it because for those who watch this show and have heard my opinion and my commentary about James Harden, you know I don't necessarily trust that Bama in moments when it counts, and especially when in the playoffs where everyone was saying that, okay, maybe if James Harden was healthy against the Bucks last year, maybe they beat the Bucks in Game 7. I'm like, no, the same numbers he put up in that game is the same numbers he's put up in crunch time in the playoffs before with other teams. So that's just a pattern.
Right.
That's just something that we've seen from him. And if he continues to play like the way he's playing right now in Philly, get ready for a second round ousting, man. And I might have to go ahead and go up to Philly and get some cheesesteaks with that Bama.
and get ready for the Bulls to rain down. So
right?
Someone had, God, I wish I had it in front of me. A buddy of mine from grad school at NC State, a few years ago, he sent me like a Reddit link to like a statistical correlation.
His stats when he's in cities with great strip clubs.
Yes. Now, is that cause or causation of his play? The greatest, he called it and I agree with him, the greatest Reddit thread of all time. That was an awesome thread. I think about that every single time I hear about James Harden. I can't help but laugh out loud. But anyway, it's gonna be interesting to see Philly, what they're going to look like the next couple of years, counting this year.
Yeah.
Because, again, the East is crazy deep. And, I hadn't seen it this deep in a very long time. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it's really going to look looking forward. I mean, with James Harden show up and show out, he fizzle again in Philly because Philly ain't going to play it. Philly ain't going to play that. It's not Houston.
No, it's not.
It's not Houston. It's not Brooklyn. There are a lot of Knicks fans going to the game. It's Philly. So Ben Simmons ran his own ass out of time because they couldn't handle it. So and other reasons too. Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid. Yeah. But anyway,
only for that Bama to end up sitting out for the rest of the year and potentially the playing game.
Yeah, I've said that too. I don't think he plays in the playoffs, man.
I don't think so either.
So it's a wash.
And even if he does, how good will he be?
Right.
How good will he be? But yeah, it's interesting of how well the East is looking right now. You talk about it not being this loaded in years. the eras in which I can think about it being this loaded, even when it was top heavy with the Bulls, but everyone else was still, competitive.
Yeah,
Or
New York, Indiana.
New York, Indiana, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who else was good during that era?
Orlando was good for a little while in that era.
Orlando was good. Charlotte was good during that time frame.
Yeah.
So you had good teams. They just couldn't oust Chicago. And then you move on to the early 2000s.
Miami too.
Where you had, the Miami Heat. Oh, yeah, the Miami Heat, right? So, yeah, during that era. But you move on to the early 2000s, again, rather deep with the 76ers, the Heat, the Knicks. Who else were good during that era of the early 90s and the but yeah, they were still relatively competitive, but I still didn't necessarily see because you had the Nets win the conference title at one point. You had the Sixers win one. You had Detroit end up winning, of course, back-to-back titles. So yeah, even when it was the Pacers were still playing well in the early 2000s. So Chicago was playing well. So it was still deep then, but it was still like maybe one or two teams. It was I would say this is the deepest the East has been since the early 2000s. So I'll just go ahead and clean it up. Yeah, I'll clean it up and say it like that. Yeah,
because the West used to run them during that time with the Lakers 3-peat and all that good stuff. Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun playoffs though. It's gonna be